Alrighty, boys and girls, it's that time again. We just finished Chapter 6, time for a test. And before that, we're going to do a review, make sure that everybody understands everything they need to. We're going to start with questions from Chapter 6, Section 1, and we'll go in order. This way, if you don't understand some of the questions and you want more detailed review, you know exactly which video to check out on my channel. That way you can get all the information you need. So, here are the questions. Okay, to solve these questions, you're going to look at the side with the variable, and something's going to be either added or subtracted. You're going to do the opposite in order to isolate the variable. Let's look at number 1. The opposite of minus 4 is plus 4. 4 is on the left, cancel, and negative 2 plus 4 is 2. Question 2, we have x plus 6. The opposite of plus 6 is minus 6. The 6's cancel, and 4 minus 6 is negative 2. Next up, Chapter 6, Section 2. Okay, give these ones a shot. Press play when you're ready. Okay, for number 3, the coefficient of x is 6, opposite of multiplication is division. So we divide by 6 on both sides, and on the left, the 6's cancel. 18 divided by 6 is 3. For question 4, a is being divided by 12. The opposite of division is multiplication. The 12's on the left cancel, and on the right, negative 3 times 12 is negative 36. Question 5, x is being divided by negative 4. The opposite of division is multiplication, and the 4's on the left cancel. Negative 9 times negative 4 is positive 36. Next up, Chapter 6, Section 3. Okay, press play when you're ready. For number 6, x is being multiplied by 0.25. Anytime a number touches a letter, it's multiplication. The opposite is division. We divide both sides by 0.25, and on the right, they cancel. On the left, 16 divided by 0.25 is 64. Question 7. Here, the coefficient is a fraction. We eliminate fractions by multiplying by the reciprocal. That's the fraction flipped. So both sides will be multiplied by 4/3. On the right, 4/3 and 3/4 cancel. And on the left, 4 times 1 is 4, and with the denominators, 3 times 5 is 15. In case you didn't get that, I multiplied straight across here, straight across here. With problem 8, the coefficients of fraction, 1/2, multiply both sides by reciprocal. On the left, 2 over 1 and 1/2 cancel. On the right, that 8 you can turn into a fraction by putting it over 1. 2 times 1 is 16, 1 times 1 is 1, and 16 over 1 equals 16. Next up, Chapter 6, Section 4. Okay, with these problems, you first want to look at the side with the variable, and the first thing you want to do is remove the constant. The 3's cancel. 9 minus 3 is 6. Now, solve the one-step equation, and x equals 3. For problem 10, this time the constant is a 4. Since there's nothing in front of that 4, I know that it's positive. The opposite of plus 4 is minus 4. The 4's cancel, leaving 1/5 x, and negative 1 minus 4 is negative 5. Again, I eliminate a fraction coefficient by multiplying both sides by the reciprocal. Make the negative 5 into a fraction by putting it over 1. Negative times a positive is a negative. 5 times 5, 25. And 1 times 1 in the denominator is 1. Negative 25 over 1 is negative 25. Next up, Chapter 6, Section 5. With these problems, you have 2 different factors on the side with the variable. In this case, for problem 11, we have 3 and x plus 5. We want to eliminate that times 3 by dividing by 3 on both sides. 45 divided by 3 is 15. Now I solve the one-step equation. 15 minus 5 is 10. problem 12, one of the factors is a fraction. Remember, to eliminate fractions, multiply both sides by the reciprocal. On the left, they cancel. On the right, I can turn the 10 into a fraction by placing it over 1. Then I multiply straight across. Numerator times numerator, denominator times denominator. 30 divided by 2 is 15. And I solve the one-step equation. Next up, Chapter 6, Section 6. Solve these problems just like you would solve one-step addition and subtraction equations. For number 13, take out the the minus 3 with a plus 3. And remember, the only time we reverse an inequality symbol is if we multiply or divide by a negative number. So here it stays the same. For number 14, on the side with the variable, the left, I have a 0.4. Since there's nothing that precedes it, I know it's positive. The opposite, minus 0.4. 7 minus 0.4 is 6.6. For problem 15, the opposite of minus 5, plus 5. Negative 6 plus 5 is negative 1. Next up, Chapter 6, Section 7. Okay, press play when you're ready. Again, I solve these problems just as I would equations, but remember, if you divide or multiply by a negative number, then the inequality symbol gets reversed. First, I eliminate the negative 2 by dividing both sides by that. They cancel on the left, and on the right, 10 divided by negative 2 is 5. Because I divided by a negative number, I reverse the inequality symbol. Next, in 17, the opposite of dividing by negative 3 is multiplying by negative 3. They cancel on the left. 4 times negative 3 is negative 12. And because I multiply by a negative number, I reverse the inequality symbol. In problem 18, I divide both sides by 2. Now, even though I divided by a positive number, so the inequality symbol stays the same. Next up, the last section, Chapter 6, Section 8. Okay, press play when you think you're ready. For problem 19, first I want to take out the constant, 7. Now I eliminate the negative 2. Because I divide by a negative, I reverse the inequality symbol. For the next problem, again, eliminate the constant first. You only reverse the symbol if you multiply or divide by a negative. Now, to eliminate the negative 2 denominator, multiply both sides by negative 2. On the left, the negative 2's cancel. On the right, negative 4 times negative 2 is positive 8. Because I multiplied by a negative number, my inequality symbol reverses. For number 21, let's take out that constant. The symbol stays the same. Now let's take out that coefficient. And again, because I did not multiply or divide by a negative, the symbol stays the same. On 22, again, let's take out the constant. The symbol stays the same. Now let's take out that coefficient. Negative 12 divided by negative 4 is positive 3, and because I divided by a negative number on both sides, I reverse the coefficient. Now, let's take a look at graphing. Graphing is referred to extensively in 6.6, 6.7, and 6.8. To graph, you draw a simple number line and put whatever number you have there. You then draw a circle on the number line, and if your variable can equal that number, you shade in the circle. If it's greater than the number, you shade to the right. If it's less than the number, you shade to the left. Let's look at some examples. Try and graph all of these on number lines and press play when you're ready. Okay, for the first one, x equals 3. Because x equals 3, I shade in the circle. and since x is not more than or less than 3, I leave it alone. For the next one, x equals -2, so I shade in the circle. And because x is not more or less than -2, I don't do anything else. For the next one, x is greater than 6. Because x does not equal 6, the circle is empty. Because x could be any number greater than 6, I shade in the side that is greater than 6. X could be equal to any of these numbers. Next, x is less than 6, so I leave the circle empty because it cannot equal 6. And I shade the side with all the values less than 6, all the values that x could equal. For the next one, x is greater than or equal to 5. Because of the equal sign, I shade in the circle. Because x is greater than or equal to 5, I also shade to the right. Next one, x is less than or equal to 4. Because it could be equal to 4, I shade in the circle. Because it could also be less than 4, I shade to the left. Remember, less than and left both start with L's. That's a way to help you remember that. Okay, boys and girls, if you were able to do all of these problems with no issue, you should be totally set for the test. If you had some problems, look up the videos if you need to get more